Today we're going to talk about a little bit of human thinking. Welcome to Nugget 376.
Colossians 2:8 says, "Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ." And that's kind of what's going on in our society, isn't it?
Well, it's been going on in a lot of societies for centuries.
Another translation, the NLT, says, "Don't let anyone capture you with empty philosophies and high-sounding nonsense that comes from human thinking and from the spiritual powers of this world rather than from Christ." And the sad reality is that's what's going on in our society. A lot of what we think we understand is nothing but a bunch of high-sounding nonsense that comes from human thinking and from the God of this world and not from Christ. And we're going to give a few examples today.
I've been thinking while you were talking, Paul wrote this to the church at Colossae. So he was already dealing with this. This has been going on for centuries. It's nothing new. It seems as if they're getting bolder and swaying more and more people. It's really sad.
Much bolder these days. Stephen Hawking said, "Science makes God unnecessary."
I bet he's going to find out differently real soon.
He learned, yeah. Lawrence M. Krauss says a lot, but...
Well, I know you often play this quote by Lawrence Krauss, and it's really sickening. I'll read this last part. "You couldn't be here if stars hadn't exploded, because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, all the things that matter for evolution, weren't created at the beginning of time. They were created in stars. So forget Jesus. Stars died so you could live." That's just sick.
Yes, it is.
Oh, and this next guy, he is a very popular face and voice in the evolution world, we'll call it.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says, "God is an ever-receding pocket of scientific ignorance that gets smaller and smaller as time goes on." We're not saying that everybody that has anything to do with evolution is bad, but the leaders, the heavy hitters, the media personalities, the people out front, I've got dozens of these quotes, and not just quotes, but actual videos of them saying it.
They are quite driven in their belief.
They are. Scientific American did an article, "Darwin's Living Legacy." It talks about the thought. A Victorian amateur undertook a lifetime pursuit of slow, meticulous observation and thought about the natural world, producing a theory 150 years ago that still drives the contemporary scientific agenda. That's the important part right there. It's still the same today.
It is what drives the agenda.
It is. Biology textbooks talk about ideas that shaped Darwin's thinking. Darwin's thinking was changed. Look at this. Slowly, after studying many scientific theories of his time, Darwin began to change his thinking dramatically. And that's what we want to put across today. The thought process that gets put into young ones' minds, mainly because of these kind of people, it's a bunch of human thinking, high-sounding nonsense. And it doesn't come from Christ. It comes from human thinking and the God of this world.
Wait, stop. Have you subscribed yet? If you haven't, please subscribe now. And if you have, thank you.
Another article, Scientific American wrote this one, "Darwin's Influence on Modern Thought." They admit that it is a thinking process. But the article goes on, "Many biological ideas proposed during the past 150 years stood in stark conflict with what everybody assumed to be true. The acceptance of these ideas required an ideological revolution, and no biologist has been responsible for more drastic modifications of the average person's worldview than Charles Darwin." And a worldview? Well, that's a thought process. It says, first, Darwinism rejects all supernatural phenomena and causation. No God. The theory of evolution by natural selection explains the adaptedness and diversity of the world solely materialistically. It no longer requires God. It goes on and on and on. The same concept. No God. Everything happened by chance, and it changes people's thinking.
But furthermore, and this is perhaps Darwin's greatest contribution, he developed a set of new principles that influence the thinking of every person. The living world, through evolution, can be explained without recourse to supernaturalism. And sadly, that sums it up. It's all creation versus evolution. it is important. And we'll return to this verse, Colossians 2:8. Don't let anyone capture you with empty philosophies and high-sounding nonsense that come from human thinking and from the spiritual powers of this world, rather than from Christ. Human thinking, pay attention.
That's what's going on.
Thank you.